It's probably obvious already, but we use language all the time. As salespeople, we may use language to convince customers and clients. As leaders, we may use language to influence employees and colleagues. Language is how we send email. Language is how we make presentations. Language is how we make phone calls. Even our own private thoughts rely on language. But while we spend a lot of time thinking about the ideas we want to get across, the big picture things we want to communicate, we spend a lot less time thinking about the exact words we use to communicate those ideas. And unfortunately, that's a mistake because subtle shifts in the language we use can have a big impact on our own effectiveness. Adding a particular word, for example, to a request can lead to about a 50% increase in people saying yes. And rather than saying we like something, saying we recommend it makes people about a third more likely to take our suggestion. And everything from the language we might use in email at the office to the language someone might use in applying for a loan, that language leaks subtle information about who people are and what they're likely to do in the future. The words you use in email, for example, can predict whether we're going to be promoted or fired or move on to another job. And the language you use in a loan application suggests how likely we are to repay that loan versus default. And so the key question is kind of what are these magic words and how can we take advantage of their power? So, the last decade or so has seen an amazing shift in our ability to study language. There's much more language data out there, but there's also many more tools. Just like the microscope revolutionized chemistry or biology, or the telescope revolutionized astronomy, these sort of automated natural language processing tools have revolutionized our ability to understand and figure out what to say and when to say it. We've done everything, look at thousands of customer service calls to figure out what words customer service agents should use to increase customer satisfaction. We've looked at tens of thousands of pieces of written content to look at what holds attention, what keeps people reading through an article. And we've looked at millions of pieces of online content to look at what drives engagement. I think technology can help, but what's more important than technology is psychology, starting with the behavioral science, right? What is the situation we're in, and how might language shape whether that situation goes well or badly? There's certainly lots of tools to measure language, everything from simple tools like dictionaries, which just count the prevalence of certain words, to more complex tools that involve machine learning and AI. Things like topic modeling, for example, can allow us to identify the key topics or themes that come up in various pieces of text. There are tools called embeddings, word embeddings or document embeddings that allow us to figure out how similar or different pieces of content are from one another. But really, we need to start with the audience, the customer, if you will, and the behavior we're trying to shape or change, right? If we're trying to shape a prospect or a client's mind, we can mine the language of email or the language of customer service calls to get a sense of what people are saying. We can use social listening, going online and seeing what people are saying about our brand and how that thing is changing over time. We can mine those posts for insight about the competitive space. We can mine it for insight about what features or dimensions of our products or services customers might want, or areas for improvement, places where we aren't doing so well and could do better in the future. And so there's lots of opportunity and lots of data sources to mine if we think carefully about who that end customer is and what sort of behavior of theirs we're trying to change. When we feel like someone's trying to persuade us, we engage in defensive measures, right? We avoid or ignore the pitch. We hang up on the telemarketer. We delete the email. We throw away the piece of junk mail. Or even worse, we push back, right? We don't say just yes, we say yes, but we counter argue. We think about all the reasons why what someone is suggesting is wrong, right? And so it makes us less likely to be persuaded, not more. And so I think when trying to influence others, it's better not to try to influence them, but encourage them to influence themselves, right? Not trying to sell them so much, encourage them to buy in. So strategies like asking questions, for example, or giving people choices, saying, which one of these things do you think is a better approach? Or rather than saying, hey, we should do this, ask them, hey, which of these things do you think might be better? Or what do you think is the best course of action, right? Asking questions, giving options, highlighting a gap between what they say they care about and how they're acting, all of those giving them back some sense of freedom and autonomy is all better than pushing people. And I also think the other thing I would say is authenticity, right? The more authentic we are, the more we're clear to our teams and our colleagues and our customers the value we're creating for them or why we want them to do something, not just that we want them to do it, the more interested they'll be in doing that. I think about this issue a lot, and I work with both, large businesses like the Apples and Googles and Nikes of the world, as well as small startups. And I think a lot about what is the startup's advantage, or what are small to medium businesses' advantage. And often you want to turn weaknesses into a strength if you can, right? In any area of business, take something that might be seen as a weakness, you can turn it into strength. That's a big opportunity. And so if you think about it, you're smaller, right? So you don't have as many resources, but what do you have? Well, you can care more about that client, right? Clients are no longer just numbers, right? You have a smaller number of them. And so you should be able to pay more attention to their individual needs, right? You should care a little bit more about them and what they want and what they care about and whether your product or service is meeting those needs. You should be willing to go a little bit above and beyond and customize things to them, right? Maybe you can't customize everything for everyone, but that flexibility and that ability to be closer to that client or customer is definitely one benefit of being smaller. I teach the core at the Wharton School, so the introductory marketing course to about a third of our incoming MBAs. And one thing we talk about a lot is understanding our customer. And I'll put quotes around the customer here because there may be situations where you might not think that you have a customer, right? Doctors may not think that they have a customer. Nonprofits may not think they have a customer. But everyone has a customer, right? That customer may literally be a customer, someone who's buying something from you. That customer might be your employees who are listening to your new strategy. That customer might be the patient as a doctor whose behavior you're trying to change. That customer might be a donor, or you as a nonprofit are trying to get to donate their time or their money. In every situation, everyone has a customer. And so the key thing is to understand that customer. What do they want? What do they need? And why are they working with you, right? What is that thing that you are selling to them, whether it's a product or a service or idea? What is that thing that they care about that they're buying from you? And how by understanding them and their needs, can you help them see that what you're offering is a great way to fill that? I'll give you just a couple examples. So take something as simple as trying to change someone's mind, right? As small to medium business leaders, this is something we have to do all the time. Whether it's getting those first couple clients in the door, turning those prospects into clients, whether it's convincing those employees to join the team, whether it's motivating them to put an extra effort or change our strategy, right? We've got to be good at influencing others. And so how can we do that? And there was a great study that was done a number of years ago at Stanford University where they went to a local preschool and they saw whether language could be used to get kids to help. So they asked young kids, 4 or 5-year-old kids, to help clean up a classroom. For some of them, they asked, hey, can you please help? And others, they asked, hey, can you be a helper? Now, the difference between help and helper is quite small. It's only a couple of letters. Yet those couple of letters had a big impact. The kids were about a third more likely to help if someone had asked them to be a helper rather than help. You could say, well, that's nice, but that's just kids. Does it apply to adults and more bigger situations? And in fact, it does. So more recently, some researchers looked at this and behavior of voting. What's more important than voting and whether people turned out to vote. Some people were asked, hey, would you please go vote? And others were asked to be a voter. And they found that this subtle shift again from vote to voter led to about a 15% increase in people's likelihood of turning out at the polls. And so this is obviously impactful, but a bigger question is why? Why is helper more impactful than help and voter more impactful than vote? And it turns out it comes down to the difference between actions and identities, right? We all have certain actions that we want to or mean to take. We know that we should exercise and eat healthy and vote and help and do all these other things, but we're busy. What we care about more, though, than specific actions are broader identities. We want to see ourselves in particular ways. We want to see ourselves as smart and intelligent and athletic and healthy and all these different things. And so we engage in actions that support those identities.